Ready?
All right, take it away, bud.
All right. Thou shalt not poop on the head of art. After giving me the slightly shriveled apple of immortality, Sam left me at the docks. Not that she wanted to. She said, but her grandparents were going to murder her, and she didn't want to be any later for that. We made plans to meet the next morning at the public garden. I made my way toward Coldplay Square. I felt a little self-conscious, walking the streets with a glowing broadsword. So I had a conversation with my weapon because that wasn't crazy at all. Could you do a glamour and turn into something smaller? I asked it, preferably not a chain since it's not long, no longer since it's no longer the 1990s. The sword didn't reply. Duh, but I imagined it was humming at a more interrogative interrogative pitch, like such as what? I don't know, something pocket size, like in its in cautious, a pen maybe. The sword pulsed, almost like it was laughing. I imagined it saying a pen sword. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You have a better idea? I asked it. The sword shrank in my hand, melting into a rune stone on a gold chain. The small white stone was emblazoned with a black symbol, and it's a down line, and then two like an F.
Does it have a
The
picture in the book?
uh,
Does it have a picture in the book?
yeah, it has a picture in the book.
Could you show it to the camera
You can show it
for
to us.
interested parties?
You see it?
Okay, yeah.
So it's the rune stone. It's the rune of Frey. I said, I'm not really a jewelry guy, but okay. I fastened the chain around my neck. I discovered the stone was attached magnetically. Okay, magnetically. My
Yeah.
God. To its
you're
nail.
good.
So I could easily pull it off the chain. As soon as I did, the stone grew into a sword. If I wanted it back in pendant form, all I had to do was picture that. The sword shrank into a stone, and I could retreat, retach it to the necklace.
Nice.
Cool, I admitted. Perhaps the sword really had heard my request. Perhaps I'd somehow created the glamour by myself. Or maybe I was hallucinating and wearing a huge sword around my neck. I doubted anyone would look twice at any new medallion. They'd see the F, they'd see the picture, the F, and assume it stood for failure. But the time I reached Coldplay Square, it was fully dark out. No sign of Blitz and Hearthstone, which made me apprehensive. The library had closed for the night. I wondered if Big Boy expected me to meet him on the roof, but I wasn't about to climb the walls of the library. It had been a long day in Haruji, super warrior strength or not. I was exhausted and shaking from hunger. If Big Boy wanted the apple, he would have to come get it. Otherwise, I'd eat it myself. I sat on the front steps of the library, the stone swaying under me, like I was still on Harold's ship. To either side of me, a bronze lady statue reclined on a marble throne. I remembered that one symbolized art and the other science. But to me, they both looked ready for recess. They
Just a minute,
leaned.
Dennis. Clary, welcome to Story Fellowship. Sorry, we only just started the new chapter, but basically all you missed is that Magnus just turned his newly reclaimed sword into a
Necklace.
awesome necklace with a stone with a rune on it that he can magnetically take off the necklace and that stone turns into the sword again. So he's got a new way of walking around Boston without looking like he's armed to the teeth with old medieval weapons. But welcome to the group.
Oh,
All right,
and
go
they
ahead.
got the apple.
Yeah, and they got the apple too. So he's like wondering if when Big Boy that I guess he's another frost giant, when he's going to come to claim the apple since he told him where to get the sword. All right, go ahead, bud. Sorry I interrupted.
But to me, they both looked ready for recess. They leaned on their armrests, metal straws covering their heads, glancing in my direction like, tough week, huh? This was the first time I'd been alone and not in imminent danger sense. The funeral home, did it count as being alone? If you were starting at your own dead body, staring at your own dead body. Okay, hold on. This was the first time I had been alone and not in an immediate IMMINENT
Imminent, which means immediate danger.
imminent danger sense. The funeral home, did it come as being alone? If you were staring at your own dead body, my memorial service had probably happened by now. I imagine my coffin being lowered into an icy grave. Uncle Randolph leaning on the on his cane, frowning resentful. Uncle Frederick looking baffled and distressed in his mismatched clothes. And Annabeth, I couldn't imagine what she was feeling. She'd rushed to Boston to find me. She learned I was dead. Then she learned I wasn't dead. But she still had to attend my funeral and not tell anyone she'd seen me. I believe she would keep her promise, but our meeting had unsettled me. Some of the things she'd said, I can help you. I know a place where you'll be safe. I pulled the battered flyer from my coat pocket. Missing Magnus Chase, 16-year-old. Please call. I studied Annabeth's phone number, committing it to memory. I owned her an explanation, but not yet. I'd already gotten Hearthstone knocked unconscious, Blitzen half petrified, and Sam kicked out of the Valkyries. I couldn't risk dragging anyone else into my problems. According to the Norns, Fenris Wolf was unleashed 7 days from now. Would be unleashed 7 days from now, unless I stopped it from happening. Ragnarok would begin. Seward would consume the 9 worlds in fire. I would never find my mom or get justice for her murder. Despite all that, every time I thought about facing the wolf, Fenris himself, I wanted to curl up in my old sleeping bag, stick my fingers in my ears and hum. La, la, la. It's not happening. The shadow swooped over my head. Big Boy, the eagle, landed on the bronze statue to my left and promptly decorated his head with eagle droppings. Dude, I said, you just pooped on art. Did I? Big Boy lifted his tail feathers. Well, I imagine she's used to it. I see you survived your fishing expedition. Surprised, I asked. You actually do. Yes, actually. Do you have my apple? I pulled it from my pocket and tossed it over. Big Boy caught it in his left claw and began to eat. That's the stuff. I'd seen some strange things recently, but an eagle eating an apple atop the poopy head of art was definitely in the top 20. So will you tell me who you are now? I asked. Big Boy burped. I suppose you've earned it. I'll confess, I'm not really an eagle. I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. He snapped off another chunk of apple. Also, I doubt you'll make many friends among the gods when they learn you've assisted me. Wonderful, I said. I'm already on Ron and Aegir's naughty list. Oh, those two aren't properly gods. They are neither Aegir nor Vanir. I think they're more giantish. The though of course the line between giants and God has always been blurred. Our clans have intermarried so many times over the years. Our clans, meaning the eagle grew, shadows folding around him, adding to his size like a snowball gathering mass. His shape resolved into a huge old man lounging in the lap of art. He wore iron shod boots, leather breeches, and in a tunic of eagle feathers that was probably not in compliance with the Endangered Species Act. His hair was gray, his face withered with age. On one forearm, he wore a gold bracer encrusted with bloodstones, the sort of armband worn by the Thanes in Valhalla. You're a lord? I asked. A king, in fact. Big boy took another big bite of apple. Immediately his hair darkened and some of his wrinkles faded. Utgard Loki at your service.
Wait,
Uh-oh.
what?
Yeah. Utgard Loki at your service.
That's Loki that he just saved?
Yeah, Utgard Loki.
Okay.
UTGRD.
Yeah.
Utgard Loki at your service. I curled my fingers around my sword pendant. Loki, as in Loki, the giant king made a sour face. You have no idea how many times I get that question. Are you the famous Loki? He put famous in air quotes. I was named Loki before he ever came along. It's a popular name among giants. At any rate, no, Magnus Chase, I am not related to the famous Loki. I am Utgard Loki, meaning Loki of the Outlands, king of the mountain giants. I've been watching you for years. I get that a lot. Well, you're much more interesting than those dense children of Thor who usually challenge me. You'll make a wonderful enemy. Pressure built in my ear canals. We're enemies now? Oh, there's no need to draw your sword you just yet. Nice pendant though. Someday you'll find ourselves we'll find ourselves in opposite sides. That can't be helped. But for the present, I'm happy to observe. I hope you'll learn to use the sword without getting yourself killed. That would be amusing. Stuart, the old bag of smoke, deserves to be humiliated. Well, I'm always happy to amuse you. The giant popped the rest of the apple in his mouth and swallowed it whole. He now looked about 25, with coal black hair, his handsome, angular face free of wrinkles. Speaking of Stuart, he said, the Fire Lord will never let you keep that sword. You have probably until morning before he realizes that you've found it. My hand dropped from my pendant. My arms felt like wet sandbags. I impaled Stuart, cut off his nose, and dropped him in an icy river. That didn't even slow him down. Oh, it did. Right now, he's nothing but a seething, noseless ball of fire, raging down in Muspelheim. He'll have to conserve all his power to manifest again on the day of the full moon. When he tries to free the wolf, maybe I shouldn't have been chatting about that with a self-declared enemy, but something told me Utgard Loki already knew. The giant nodded. Stuart is more anxious than anyone for Ragnarok to start. He knows he'll get to consume the 9 worlds in flames, and that's what he's been waiting for since the dawn of time. Me, I like the way things are. I'm having fun, but fire giants, there's no reasoning with them. It's all burn, burn, burn. Anyway, the good news is that Stuart won't be able to kill you personally until the full moon. He's much too weak. The bad news, he has lots of minions. I hate minions. Stuart's not the only one after you. Your former comrades. Comrades from
Magnus's former
Valhalla.
comrades?
Huh?
He just said your former comrades?
Yeah, your former comrades from Valhalla have been searching. They're not pleased that you left without permission. I thought about Captain Ganilla and her bandolier of of hammers. I imagined one spinning toward my face. Well, that's just perfect. If I were you, Magnus, I'd get out of Midgard by dawn. That should throw your pursuers off your trail, at least temporarily. Leave the earth, simple as that. I knew you were a quick learner. Utgard Loki slid off the statue's lap. Standing up, he was easily 12 feet tall. We'll meet again, Magnus Chase. Someday you'll need a favor only Utgard Loki can grant. But for now, your friends would like a word. Farewell. Shadows funneled around him. Utgard Loki was gone. In one place stood Blitzen and Hearthstone. Hearth leaped away from me like a startled cat. Blitzen dropped his duffel bag. Hemendall's horn. Kid, where did you come from? Where did I? I've been here for almost an hour. I was talking to a giant. Hearth crept toward me. He poked me in the chest to see if I was real. We have been here for hours, he signed, waiting for you. We talked to Giant. You just appeared. A sick feeling rose in my chest. Maybe we should compare notes. I told them that had happened since we parted ways. Harold's boat, Mr. J, and Bag Lady Ron, which would make an awesome name for a rapper duo. In my conversation with Utgard Loki, not good, Blitzen stroked his beard. He dispensed with an anti-sun gear and was now wearing an eggplant purple 3-piece suit with a MAUVE
Mauve. It's like a pinkish color.
with a dress shirt and a green carnation in the flapple. The giant told us some of the same things, but the giant did not tell us his own name. Karstein, surprised, opening his pinched fingers on either side of his eyes, which in this context I took to mean yikes. Utgard Loki, he spelled out the name, most powerful sorcerer of Jotunheim, can make any illusion. We were lucky, but said Utgard Loki could have tricked us into seeing or doing anything. He could have made us walk off a roof, accidentally kill each other, or even eat steak tartar. In fact, Blitz narrowed his eyes. We could still be in an illusion. Any of us might be giants. Blitzen punched Hearthstone in the arm. Ouch! Hearth signed. He stepped on the dwarf's toes. Or maybe not. Blitzen decided. Stuff. Blitzen decided. Still, this is very bad, Magnus. We've given an apple of immortality to a giant king. And what does that mean exactly? Blitz that fiddled with his carnation. To be honest, I'm not sure. I've never understood how those apples work. I imagine it will make Utgard Loki stronger as well as younger. And make no mistake, when Ragnarok comes, he won't be on our side. Hearthstone signed. Wish I'd known it was Utgard Loki. I could have asked about magic. Humph. Blitz said, you know plenty. Besides, you can't trust a giant to give you straight answers. Right now, you two need sleep. Elves can't stay awake very long without sunlight, and Magnus looks like he's going to fall over. Blitz was right. I was starting to see double Blitzens and double Hearthstones, and I didn't think it had anything to do with illusions. We made camp in the library doorway, just like old times, except with better supplies. Blitz pulled 3 down sleeping bags out of his duffel, along with a fresh change of clothes for me and some sandwiches, which I ate too fast to taste. Hearth collapsed in his bag and immediately began snoring. Rest, Blitz told me. I'll keep watch. Tomorrow we visit my kin. The dwarf whirled. My thoughts were getting fuzzy. Your home? My home. Blitzen sounded uneasy. Some of the research Hearth and I did today is looking like we'll need more information about the rope that bound Fenris. We can only get that in Nidvillir. He focused on the chain around my neck. Can I see it? The sword? I pulled off the pendant and set the sword between us. It's like making Blitz's face glitter like a vine of copper in the dark. Breathtaking, he murmured. Bone steel or something even more exotic. Bone steel? TJ and Valhalla mentioned that. Blitz didn't touch the blade, but he passed his hand over it. Reverently, to make steel iron to smelt. This is melted with carbon. Most swordsmiths use coal, but you can also use bones, the bones of enemies, of monsters or ancestors. Oh, I stared at the blade, wondering if my great grandparents might be in there somewhere. Forged correctly, Blitz said. Bone steel can cut down supernatural creatures, even giants and gods. Of course, you have to quench the blade in blood to harden it. Preferably the blood of whatever type of creature you want the sword to be most lethal against. The sandwiches weren't settling so well in my stomach. This blade was made like that. I don't know, Blitz admitted. The sort of fray is Vanir work, which is a mystery to me. It might be closer to Hearth's elf magic. My spirit sank. I'd had this idea that dwarves were good with weapon crafting in the back of my mind. I'd been hoping Blitzen could tell me something about the blade's secrets. I glanced at her, still snoring peacefully. He said Hearth knew a lot of magic. I'm not criticizing. I've just never seen him cast any. Well, except maybe opening one door. What else can he do? Blitz set his hand protectively next to Hearth's feet. Magic drains him. He's careful about using it. Also, his family. He took a deep breath. Modern elves don't approve of magic. His parents shamed Hearthstone pretty badly. It still makes him self-conscious about casting magic in front of others. Hearthstone wasn't the son his parents wanted between the magic and the, Blitz tapped his own earlobe. I felt like saying something rude about Hearthstone's parents in sign language. It's not his fault he's deaf. Elves Blitz shrugged. They have a low tolerance for anything that isn't perfect. Music, art, appearances, their own children. I wanted to protest how messed up that was. Then I thought about humans, and I decided we weren't much better. Get some sleep, kid, Blitz urged. Big day tomorrow. To keep Fenris Wolf bound, we are going to need help from a certain dwarf, and that help isn't going to come cheap. We'll need you at full strength when we jump to Nedvivir. Jump? I said. What do you mean jump? He gave me a worried look, as if I might be getting another funeral very soon. In the morning, we're going to try climbing the world tree. 36. Duck. Call me crazy. I was expecting the world tree to be a tree, not a row of bronze ducks. Behold, Blitzen said, the nexus of the universe. Hearthstone knelt reverently. I glanced at Sam, who had joined us after a daring escape from first period physics. She wasn't laughing. So I said, I'm just trying to point out that this is the make way for duckling statue. Do you think it's a coin a coincidence? A coincidence?
Coincidence, yeah.
Coincidence, Blitzen demanded. 9 worlds, 9 ducks. The symbolism screams portal. This spot is the crux of creation, the center of the tree, the easiest place to jump from one duck. I mean, one world to another. If you say so, I passed these bronze ducks 1,000 times. I never considered them much of a nexus. I hadn't read the children's book they were so based on, but I gathered it was about a mama duck and her babies crossing a street in Boston. So they got a sculpture of it in the public garden. In the summer, little kids would sit on Miss Mallard and get their pictures taken. At Christmas, the ducks got little Santa hats. At the moment, they were naked and alone, buried up to their necks in fresh snowfall. That's kind of weird. Hearthstone passed his hands over the statue like he was testing a stovetop or heat. He glanced at Blitz and shook his head. As I feared, Blitz said, Hearth and I have been traveling too much. We won't be able to activate the ducts. Magnus, we'll need you. I waited for an explanation, but Blitz just studied the sculptures. He was testing out a new hat this morning, a pith helmet with dark netting that draped to his shoulders. According to Blitz, the net fabric was his own design. It blocked 98% of the sunlight, allowing us to see his face while not covering up his fashionable outfit. It made him look like a beekeeper in mourning. Okay, I'll bite, I said. How do I activate ducks? Sam scanned our surroundings. She didn't look like she'd slept much. Her eyes were puffy, her hands were raw and blistered from our oh, blistered from our fishing expedition. She changed into a black wool trench coat, but otherwise she was dressed the same as yesterday. Green hijab, axe, shield, jeans, winter boots, all the accoutrements accrements of fashionable ex-Valkyrie. However, you do it. However you do it, she said, do it quickly. I don't like how close we are to the gates of Valhalla. But I don't know how, I protested. You guys go wood? Don't you guys go world jumping all the time? Her sign, too much, kid. Blitz said, the most frequently you travel between the worlds, the harder it gets. It's kind of like overheating an engine. At some point, you have to stop and let the engine cool down. Besides, jumping randomly from one world to another is one thing. Traveling on a quest, that's different. We can't be sure where exactly we need to go. I turned to Sam. What about you? When I was a Valkyrie, it would have been no problem. But now she shook her head. You're a child of Freya. Your father is the god of growth and fertility. You should be able to coax yard jizzles branches close enough to let us jump on. Besides, it's your quest. You have the best chance of navigating just us, the sculpture as a point of focus. Find us the quickest path. I gotta charge. Put on the charger. Sorry.
It's okay, Dennis.
Sorry about that.
What?
I had to jump off for a minute.
Yeah, I had a charge.
I made you host and then tried to solve a problem with my Zoom got frozen, so it was just constantly showing as participant list.
When I was a Valkyrie, it would have been no problem, but now she shook her head. You're a child of Frey. Your father is the god of growth and fertility. You should be able to coax yardage branches close enough to let us jump on. Besides, it's your quest. You have the best chance of navigating. Just use the sculpture as a point of focus. Find us the quickest path. She would have had better luck explaining calculus to me. I felt stupid, but I knelt next to the sculpture. I touched the duckling at the end of the line. Cold crept up my arm. I sensed ice, fog, and darkness somewhere harsh and unwelcoming. This, I decided, is the quickest way to Niflheim. Excellent, but let's not go there. I was just reaching for the next duck when someone yelled, Magnus Chase! 200 yards away on the opposite side of Charles Street. Captain
Oh,
Ganilla
crap.
stood flanked by two other Valkyries. Behind them was a line of Enharjar. I couldn't make out their expressions, but the gray, looming mass of X, the half troll, was unmistakable. Ganilla had drafted my own hallmates to fight against me. My fingers twitched with anger. I wanted to get a meat hook and go fishing with Ganilla as bait. I reached for my pendant. Magnus, no, Sam, concentrate on the ducks. We have to change worlds now. On either side of Ganilla, the Valkyries swung glowing spears from their backs. They yelled at the Enharjar to ready their weapons. Ganilla pulled two of her hammers and threw them in our direction. Sam deflected one with her shield. She knocked the other aside with her axe, spinning the hammer into the nearest wall. Willow tree, where it embedded itself up in the handle, itself up to the handle. Across the street, all three Valkyries rose into the air. I can't fight them all, Sam warned. It's leave now or be captured. My anger turned to panic. I looked at the row of bronze ducks, but my concentration was shattered. I need more time. We don't have time, Sam deflected another hammer. The force of the blow cracked her shield down the middle.
Oh, man.
Blitzen nudged the elf's arm. Blitzen nudged the elf's arm. Now would be good. Everyone tugged at the corners of Hearthstone's mouth. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a runestone. He cupped it in his hand and muttered to it silently, as if speaking to a captured bird. He threw the stone into the air. It exploded above us, creating a rune of burning golden light. So I can show you the next. So this is what it looks like.
Oh, wow. So it created a rune.
Yeah.
In the air above them.
Yeah.
It must be a protective rune or something.
Between Ganilla's hunting party and us, distance seemed to elongate. The Valkyries flew toward us at top speed. My Enharjar comrades drew their weapons and charged, but they made no progress. It reminded me of those cheap 1970s cartoons where a character runs, but the scenery behind him just keeps repeating itself. Charles Street spiraled around our pursuers like a giant hamster wheel. For the first time, I got what Sam had told me about runes being able to change reality. Ready ho, Blitzen said apprehensively. It stands for the wheel, the journey Hearthstone had bought you some time. Only seconds, Hearthstone. Hurry. He promptly collapsed into Sam's arms. I ran my hands quickly across the bronze ducks. As the fourth one I stopped, I felt warmth, safety, a sense of rightness. This one, I said. Well, open it, Blitzen shouted. I rose to my feet, not sure what I was doing. I pulled my pendant from his chain. The sword of summer appeared in my hands. Its blade peered like a demented cat. I tapped it against the bronze duck and sliced upward. The air parted like a curtain, stretching in front of me. Instead of a sidewalk, was an expanse of tree branches. The nearest one as wide as Beacon Street ran directly under us, maybe 3 feet down, suspended over a gray void. Unfortunately, the cut I'd made in the fabric of Midgard was already closing. Hurry, I said, jump. Blitzen didn't hesitate. He leapt through the rift. Over on Charles Street, Ganilla screamed in outrage. She and her Valkyries were still flying full tilt on their cartoon hamster wheel. Then Harjar stumbled along behind them. You are doomed, Magnus Chase, Ganilla shouted. We will pursue you to the ends of... With a loud pop, her spell broke. Harjar fell.
You okay?
Face first in the street. The three Valkyries shot over our heads, judging from the sound of breaking glass. They must have hit a building over on Arlington Street. I didn't wait for my old hallmates to recover their senses. I grabbed Harth's left arm while Sam took his right. Together we leapt into the World Tree. I am trash talked by a squirrel.
Not the squirrel again, man. That giant ferocious squirrel that nearly killed him in Valhalla.
No, but it says I am trash talked by a squirrel.
Oh, man.
Let me see how long this chapter is. 6 pages.
Oh, that's doable, man.
Okay. I always liked climbing trees. My mom had been pretty understanding about that. She'd only get nervous if I got above 20 feet, then a little tension crept into her voice. Pumpkin, that branch may not hold you. Could you come down a little? On the World Tree, every branch would hold me. The biggest ones were wider than Interstate 93. The smallest were as large as your average redwood. As for Yggdrasil's trunk, it was so immense it just didn't compute. Each crevice in its surface seemed to lead to a different world, as if someone had wrapped tree bark around a column of television monitors, glowing with a million different movies. The wind roared, ripping at my new denim jacket. Beyond the tree's canopy, I saw nothing but a hazy white glow. Below was no ground, just more branches crisscrossing the void. The tree had to be rooted somewhere, but I felt woozy and unbalanced, as if Yggdrasil and everything it contained, including my world, was free-floating in primordial mist. The gunning gap. If I fell here, in the best case scenario, I hit another branch and break my neck. Worst case scenario, I'd keep falling forever into the great white nothingness.
Oh, yeah. They had talked about that in another chapter.
Yeah. I must have been leaning forward because Blitzen grabbed my arm. Careful, kid. First time in the tree will make you dizzy. Yeah, I noticed. Hearthstone still sagged between Sam and me. He tried to find his footing, but his ankles kept bending in odd directions. Sam stumbled. Her broken shield slipped from her grip and somersaulted into the bias. She crouched, a look of barely controlled panic in her eyes. I liked Yggdrasil. I looked a lot better when I could fly. What about Ganilla and the others, I asked. Will they be able to follow us? Not easily, Sam said. They can open another portal, but it won't necessarily lead to the same branch of the tree. Still, we should keep moving. Being on Yggdrasil is not good for your sanity. Hearthstone managed to stand on his own. He signed, I'm okay, let's go. Though his hands were so shaky, it looked more like you are a rabbit tunnel.
You thought he signed "You Are a Rabbit Tunnel"?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Let's go. Though his hands were so shaky, it looked more like you are a rabbit tunnel. We moved farther along the branch. The sword of summer hummed in my hand, tugging me along like I knew where we were going. I hoped it did. Anyway, hostile winds buffeted us from side to side, branches swaying, throwing deep pools of shadow and brilliant patches of light across our path. A leaf the size of canoe fluttered by.
It's a big leaf.
A leaf the size of a canoe fluttered by. Stay focused, Blitzen told me. That feeling you had when you opened the portal, look for it again. Find us and exit. After walking about a quarter of a mile, we found a smaller branch crossing directly under ours. My sword hummed louder, tugging to the right. I looked at my friends. I think we need to take this exit. Changing branches might sound easy, but it involved sliding down 10 feet from the one curved surface to another, with the wind howling and the branches swaying apart. Amazingly, we managed it without anyone getting crushed or falling into oblivion. Navigating the narrow branch was worse. It bobbed more violently under our feet. At one point, I got flattened by a leaf, like a green tarp dropping on top of me, out of nowhere. At another point, I looked down and realized I was standing over a crack in the bark. Half a mile down inside the branch, I could see a snow-capped mountain range, as if I was standing in a glass-bottom airplane. We
Huh.
picked our way through the maze of lichen patches that looked like hills of burned marshmallows. I made the mistake of touching one. My hand sunk up to my hand sunk up to my waist, and I almost couldn't pull it free. My hand sunk up to my waist, and I almost couldn't pull it free. Finally, the lichen dispersed into smaller clumps, like burned marshmallow sofas. We followed our branch until it split into half a dozen unclimbable twigs. The sword of summer seemed to go to sleep in my hand. Well, Sam asked. I peered over the side about 30 feet below us. A larger branch swayed in the middle of the branch. A hot tub-sized knothole glowed with soft, warm light. That's it, I said. That's our way out. Blitzen scowled. You sure? Nadavlir isn't warm and glowy. I'm just telling you, the sword seems to think that's our destination.
I think it's cool that he could communicate with the sword like some pet, you know?
Sam whistled silently. Quite a jump. If we missed the hole, Hearthstone spelled out, splat. A gust of wind hit us, and Hearth stumbled before I could catch him. He fell backwards into a clump of lichen. His legs were promptly swallowed in the marshmallow gunk. Hearth lichen scrambled to his feet, to his side. He pulled at Hearth's arms, but the monkey lichen held on to his legs like a needy toddler. We can cut him out.
Interesting. So just to let you know, lichen is kind of like a moss that can grow on trees. Yeah. So that's what this is. This lichen or lichen.
It's how do you spell it? It's spelled
Lichen.
yeah, Lichen.
Yeah, it's pronounced lichen.
Lichen.
Yeah.
Held onto his leg like a needy toddler. We can cut him out, Sam said. Your sword, my axe. It'll take time. You'll have to be careful of his legs. But it could be worse. Naturally, things got worse. From somewhere above us came an explosive yark. Blitzing under his pith helmet. Ratatus, that damnable squirrel always appears at the worst time.
It is that giant squirrel.
Yeah. Hurry with those blades. Sam cut into the lichen with her axe, but her blades stuck. This is like cutting through metal, melting tires. It's not going to be quick. Go, her sign. Leave me. Not an option, I said. Yar! The sound was much louder this time. A dozen branches above us, a large shadow passed across the leaves. I hefted my sword. We'll fight the squirrel. We can do that, right? Sam looked at me. Sam looked at me like I was mad. Rattatus is invulnerable. There is no fighting him. Our options are running, hiding, or dying. We can't run, I said, and I've already died twice this week. So we hide, Sam unwrapped her hijab. At least Hearth and I do. I can cover 2 people, no more. You and Blitz run find the dwarves. We'll meet up with you later. What? I wondered if Utgard Loki was messing with her brain somehow. Sam, you can't hide under a green piece of silk. The squirrel can't be that stupid. She shook out the fabric. It grew to the size of a twin sheet. The colors rippling until the hijab was exactly the same brown and yellow and white of the lichen patch. She's right, Hearthsign. Go. Sam crouched next to him and pulled the hijab over them. Both and they vanished, blending perfectly against the lichen. Magnus Blitz tugged at my arm. It's now or never. He pointed to the branch below. The knot hole was closing. At that moment, Rattatus broke through foliage above. If you can imagine a Sherman tank covered in red fur, barreling down the size of a tree, well, the squirrel was way scarier than that. His front teeth were twin wedges of white and enamel. Yeah, enamel. Wow. Enamel terror and terror. His claws were scimitars. His eyes were sulfur yellow, burning with fury.
Oh my God, I can see him now. Don't you see him on the screen?
Yark! The squirrel's battle cry piercing my eardrums. 1,000 insults were packed into that one sound, all of them invading my brain, drowning out any rational thought. You have failed. No one likes you. You are dead. Your dwarf's pith helmet is stupid. You cannot save your mother. Wow, that got dark.
That's harsh.
I fell to my knees. I saw a belt in my chest. I probably would have died then and there if Blitz hadn't hauled me up with all his dwarven strength and slapped me across the face. I couldn't hear him, but I read his lips well enough. Now, kid, gripping my hand in rough claws fingers, he jumped off the branch, dragging me with him into the wind.
Whoa.
I can't believe the squirrel's there.
I had to. I'm sorry.
The squirrel! Oh my God!
It's right there.
Is the sage out, Mary?
Huh?
I wonder if Sage is out.
I think Mary had to jump off.
Oh.
Maybe because Sage was going out.
I break down in a Volkswagen.
So we're at. Is that the next chapter? Is that the next chapter? So we're at 7:30 now. So it's up to the group if you guys want to read it one more chapter or you want to end it there because we've been on for.
Chapter, but yeah.
It wants to go one more chapter always.
Yeah, we've only been going an hour so far. So normally we try to go till 8, but it's up to you guys.
Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow, Michael's right on top of it. Wow.
Well, that's because you were early, sir.
That because I got not
Well,
the
at least
timer,
you're
but
on.
the little Zoom stopwatch on or whatever.
Look at you keeping time.
Mhm.
Nice.
At least you're on. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
I had that on for a while. Like
I'll break down.
Oh,
Okay, we go one more chapter.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go one more. I'll see
I
if I
started
have good imagery to go with it as you read.
Yeah, put back on that. You can put back on that. Oh, never mind. It's not there. I think in a sunlit meadow with no memory of how I got there. In the distance, wildflowers dusted rolling green hills. The breeze smelled of lavender. The light was warm and rich, as if the air had turned to butter. My thoughts moved sluggishly. Light, sunlight, was bad for dwarves. I was pretty sure I had been traveling with a dwarf, someone who had slapped me and saved my life. Blitz, he stood to my left, holding his pith helmet at his side. Blitz, your hat. I was afraid he'd already become stone. Then he turned. His eyes were stormy and distant. It's okay, kid. This isn't regular sunlight. We're not on Midgard anymore. He sounded like he was talking through wax paper. The squirrel's yap had left a crackling in my ears and some corrosive thoughts rattling through in my brain. Reditas. I couldn't finish the sentence. Just saying his name made me want to curl up in the fetal position. Yeah, Blitz said. His bark is literally worse than his bite. Blitz, looked down, blinking rapidly. He's the most destructive creature in the world tree. He spends his time running up and down the trunk, carrying insult from the eagle who lives at the top to Nidlahab, the dragon who lives at the roots. I gazed toward the hills. Faint sounds of music seemed to be coming from that direction. Or maybe it was the static in my ears. Why would a squirrel do that? To damage the tree, Blitz said. Ratatus keeps the eagle and the dragon whip into a frenzy. He tells them lies, rumors, nasty gossip about each other. His words can, well, you know what his words can do. The dragon Nidhogg Hog is always chewing on the roots of the world tree, trying to kill it. The eagle flaps his wings and creates windstorms that rip the branches and cause devastation throughout the nine worlds. Ratatosh makes sure the two monsters stay angry and in competition with each other see which one can destroy their end of Yggdrasil faster. But that's crazy. The squirrel lives in the tree. Let's grimace. We all do, kid. People have destructive impulses. Some of us want to see the world in ruins just for the fun of it. Even if we're ruined along with it. Ratatosh chatter echoed in my head. You have failed. You have not saved your mother. You could not save your mother. The squirrel had driven me to despair, but I could see how his bark might stir up other emotions, hatred, bitterness, self-loathing. How did you keep your wits? I asked Blitz. When the squirrel barked, what did you hear? Blitz ran his fingers across the brim of his pith helmet, pinched the edge of the black veil. Nothing. I don't tell myself all the time, kid. We should get going. He trudged off toward the hills despite the short stride. I had to power walk to keep up. We crossed a stream where a picture with Picturesque
Picturesque. It kind of means beautiful.
Picturesque little frog sat on a lily pad. Doves and falcons spiral through the air like they were playing tag. I half expected a chorus line of fuzzy animals to pop out of the sunflowers and launch into a Disney musical number. I'm guessing this is not Nadavir, I said as we climbed the hill. Blitzen snorted. No, much worse. Alfheim. Worse? Blitzen stopped just short of the crest into a depth beneath. Come on, let's get this over with. At the top of the hill, I froze. Whoa, down the other side. Green fields stretched to the horizon. Meadows were strewn with picnic blankets. Crowds of people were hanging out, eating, laughing, chatting, playing music, flying kites, tossing beach balls. It was the world's largest, most laid-back outdoor concert, minus the concert. Some folks were dressed in various bits of armor. Most had weapons, but they didn't seem very interesting in using them. In the shade of an oak tree, a couple of young ladies were sword fighting, but after crossing blades a few times, they got bored, dropped their weapons, and started chatting. Another guy lounged in a lawn chair, flirting with the girl on his left, while he casually parried attacks from the guy standing on his right. Blitz pointed to the crest to the next hill about half a mile away, where a strange palace gleamed. It looked like mile away, where a strange palace gleamed. It looked like an upside down Noah ark made of gold and silver. Sistamir, said Blitzen, the hall of many seats. If we're lucky, maybe we won't be home. Maybe she won't be home. Who? Instead of answering, he waded into the crowd. We hadn't gone 20 feet before a guy on a nearby picnic blanket called, "Hey Blitzen, what's up, dude?" Blitzen ground his teeth so hard I could hear them popping. "Hello, Miles." "Yeah, I'm good." Miles raised his sword absently as another guy in beach trunks and a musical shirt charged toward him with a battle axe. The attacker screamed, "Die!" "Ha ha, just kidding." Then he walked away eating a chocolate bar. "So Blitz," Miles said, "what brings you to Cassidy Awesome?" "Nice seeing you, Miles." Blitzen grabbed my arm and led me onward. "Okay, cool," Miles called after us. "Keep in touch." "Who was that?" I asked. "Nobody." "How do you know him?" "I don't." As we made our way toward the upside-down arc mansion, more people stopped and said hello to Blitzen. A few greeted him and complimented him on my sword, or my hair, or my shoes. One girl said, "Oh, nice ears," which didn't even make sense. Everybody is so stupid, Blitzen offered. I was going to say mellow. He grunted. This is Folkvanger, the field of an army, or you could translate it as the people's battlefield. So this is Volkswagen. I scanned the crowds, wondering if I would spot my mother, but I couldn't imagine her in a place like this. There was too much lounging around, not enough action. My mom would have roasted these warriors to their feet. Rousted.
Roused.
Rousted.
Rousted.
Rousted these warriors to their feet, led them on a 10-mile hike, then insist they set up their own campsites. If they wanted any dinner. They don't seem like much of an army. Yeah, well, Blitz said, these fallen are just as powerful as the Harajar. But they have a different attitude. The realm is one little subsection of Vanaheim, sort of like Vanir, gods of flip side version of Valhalla. I tried to picture myself spending an eternity here. Valhalla had its good points, but as far as I'd seen, it didn't have picnics or beach balls, and I definitely wouldn't describe it as mellow still. I wasn't sure I liked Folkvanger any better, so half the worthy dead go here. I remembered half go to Valhalla. How do they pick who goes where? It is a coin toss. That would make more sense actually. But I was trying to get us to Nadavir. Why did we come here? Blitzen stared at the mansion atop the hill. You were looking for the path we needed for our quest. That path led us through Vault Finger. Unfortunately, I think I know why. Let's go pay our respects before I lose my nerve. As we approached the gates, I realized Systemir wasn't just built to look like an upside down ship. It actually was an upside down ship. The rows of tall windows were ore slots. The sloping walls of the hall were made from clinkered gold planks riveted with silver nails. The main entrance had a long winding that would have served as a gangplank. So there's a ship that they're on.
Cool.
Why is it a boat? I asked. What? Listen fiddled nervously with his carnation. Not so unusual. Your Norse ancestors made lots of buildings by turning their ships upside down. In the case of Sismanir, when the day of doom comes around, they'll just flip the place over and voila. It's a vessel big enough for all the warriors of Volkvanger to sail nobly to their deaths, sort of like we're doing now. They led me inside. I'd been expecting a gloomy interior like the hold of a ship, but the hall of many seats was more like a cathedral. The ceiling rose all the way to the end, to the keel. The oar hole windows, cross-hatched, cross crosshatch, the air with bars of light. The entire space was open, no separate rooms or partitions, just clusters of sofas, comfy chairs, throw pillows, and freestanding hammocks, most of which were occupied by snoring warriors. I hope the 500,000 inhabitants of Volkvanger liked one another's company because there was no privacy. Me being me, the main thing I wondered was where they all went to the bathroom. Down the center of the hall ran an aisle of Persian carpets, flanked by braziers with glowing sapphires, all of gold light. At the far end stood a throne on a raised dais. Blitz marched in that direction, ignoring the warriors who greeted him with dude and sup. Cool, man, and welcome home. Welcome home. In front of the dais, a cozy fire crackled in the hearth. Piles of jewelry and precious gems glittered here and there as if somebody had swept them up just to get them off the floor. On either side of those steps lounged a Callisto house cat the size of a saber-toothed tiger. Oh, dun 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 dun.
That's a big cat.
Yeah. The throne was carved from wood as soft and buttery as the light linden wood. Maybe the back was draped with a cloak of downy feathers, like on the underside of a falcon. In the throne itself sat the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She looked maybe 20 years old, surrounded by an aura of golden radiance. That made me realize what Blitzen meant earlier when he said the daylight here wasn't normal. The entire realm of Volkvanger was warm and bright, not because of the sun, but because it basked in this woman's power. Her blonde hair fell across her shoulder in a single long flat plait. Plait?
Yeah, a plait affair.
But her white halter top showed off her tan shoulders and smooth midriff. Her knee-length skirt was belted with a gold braid holding a sheathed knife and a ring of keys. Around her neck was a dazzling piece of jewelry, a lacework collar of gold and gems. Like Ron's neck, in miniature, except with rubies and diamonds instead of sailors' souls and hubcaps. The woman fixed me with her sky blue eyes. When she smiled, heat traveled from the tips of my ears right down to the toes. I would have done anything to make her keep smiling at me. If she told me to jump off the world tree into oblivion, I would have done it in a second. I remembered her picture from my old children's mythology book and realized how ridiculously it undersold her beauty. The goddess of love was very pretty. She had cats. I knelt before my aunt, the twin sister of my father. Freya, my dear Magnus, she said, how nice to meet you in person. She turned to Blitzen, who was glowering at his boots. And how are you, Blitzen? Asked the goddess. Blitzen sighed, I'm fine, Mom. Nah.
Mom?
Yeah, Mom.
His mom is the goddess of love?
Yeah. Freya is pretty. She has cats.
Hey, so what do you think of the picture I found? You think it looks like the house you were describing?
Yeah. Find a picture of the goddess love.
Yeah, I was looking.
That's cool.
What was her name?
Oh, Cynthia? No, wait. Where the heck was it? I don't remember.
Yeah. Was it Freya?
No, it was. Well, this Freya is pretty. She has cats. But I thought it said something about something else.
Well,
But
I picture that the throne she was sitting on and everything, it probably looked something like this.
Yeah, I think that's Freya.
Yeah. Pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
You guys want to keep going or call it there?
I mean, he's got to work tomorrow, so.
Yeah, we should call it there. That's pretty wild, though. That
yeah, some people have to work next day.
yeah, it's pretty wild though that we now know that Blitzen's mom is here.
Yeah. What's his mom?
and everybody knows him. They were all like saying hi to him as they were walking there. So this will be an interesting place to pick up next time. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my addition of images this time.
Yeah, nice pictures, John.
It takes a little pressure off of Dennis, who, you know, we all love watching you rock back and forth while you're reading, Dennis, but
Yeah.
figured this way, you only got to worry about the sounds. But yeah, this was
So
a
I
good
can
one.
read you the first sentence of the next chapter.
Huh?
I read you the first sentence of this next chapter.
Oh yeah, what's the first sentence?
Mom, I said it aloud. Wait, you Blitzen mom?
Yep. And then it all comes out. So we'll have to wait till next time. That'll be a good place to start. It was so great to see all your shining faces. Everyone be safe
right.
and have a
It's
good
great.
night. Okay.
John.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, Dennis, for another great storytelling.
Go long.